Dasen, I believe that you've literally been in Chatsworth and you actually had an opportunity to speak to the victims' families. Let's talk a bit about that.
That's right, Faith. This morning we started at the Durban beachfront, and that was where those bodies were found yesterday. But as you know, the details around exactly what happened have been very limited. The police investigation has only just started. So we did track down the families of both those victims. The lady in this case has been identified as Fatima Mohammed. The man that was found lying next to her there is Dasen Thathiah, and we spoke to both those families off camera. Both of them are preparing for funerals at this point. In fact, Mohammed's funeral is going to be held a bit later today. They also come from the same area. Their houses are within 5 minutes of each other. And I'll start with the conversation that we had with Mohammed's family earlier. And they were saying that they knew that she was going to Suncoast yesterday, and they had last seen her at least before midday and last spoken to her at about 1 o'clock yesterday. After that, they couldn't reach her, and they had expected that she would be home before it got dark. But at about 6:30, a police officer came to the home and gave them the bad news, saying that she had been found dead and she had been a victim of an attack of some kind. She died from stab wounds. But the family is also saying that they are not sure who Dasen Thathiah is or what his relationship is to this lady. She's 50 years old and she's a mother of 3. Her youngest child is 12 years old, the family tells us. So after that, we went out to find Dasen Thathiah's house. There as well, the family is saying to us that they are not sure what could have transpired. They saw him yesterday morning as well, also knew that he was going out, but they weren't aware of who he was going out with. They say that they've never met Mohammed before, so they're not sure what that relationship was. So that's a common factor between both these families. They don't seem to know either the man or the woman in this case. But what they are saying categorically is that they do want answers because they want to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. It happened in such a what's regarded as a safe space. This is just a few meters away from a very busy promenade, and here you have 2 people that were murdered there.
On the other side of it, there's a third individual, and that is the perpetrator. Any information regarding who or what transpired and whether that perpetrator has been apprehended or is still on the loose?
Well, the perpetrator in this case, according to police, is still very much on the loose. They are trying to track down anyone who could possibly be a suspect in this case because they are investigating 2 murders. But that will take some time. There is still a lot of work to be done. Most notably, they need to then send that weapon that was found at the murder scene, a knife that was lodged in Thathiah's chest. They need to send that for testing. They also need to test the blood samples that were found on the scene and go through the other evidence that was there in order to help them better understand what took place. Now, the other interesting thing about this is that while it appeared to be a robbery at first, police say that the victim's belongings were all there. Mohammed's bag was lying not far from her body. Her ID book was there as well. There was also a bank card and other things that were just nearby. So the motive in this case has yet to be established.
I mean, on the other side of it, I mean, looking at what reports were saying earlier on the day, it was around the safety, especially on the promenade, especially given the fact that we're nearing festive season, where many individuals now have become quite concerned about their safety. Does that mean that we can rule out that this was just a random attack on individuals by individuals who were trying to, rob them of some kind, that maybe there is some kind of a link between the 3 individuals, 2 of the victims, and 1 suspect that is at large?
That's precisely the question now. Was it a suspect that was known to them? Who was actually behind this? There's so much speculation around exactly what happened. One of the things that is quite suspicious is that the murder weapon in this case was left behind, and as I mentioned, it was lodged in Thathiah's chest, and that, according to some police sources, they say that's unusual because in a case like this, why would that be left behind? But we don't want to preempt anything and make assumptions at this point because this investigation is still underway. What police are saying, though, is that this is an unusual incident. So they're saying that it's not a cause for concern, really, apart from the fact that 2 people have been murdered. But for the broader public who are visiting the promenade, they insist that there are police that have been deployed. It is a safe place to be, and that they have members in all of the areas that they regard as hotspots. Because just 3 weeks ago, they launched the festive season operations, and that seeks to keep tourists and other people visiting the promenade and the greater Durban area safe over this festive period.
Yes, I'm going to leave it there for this afternoon. He's out in Chatsworth ahead of that stabbing, as you said, 2 victims and 1 perpetrator that is still at large.